Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for being here. And Fancy, thank you so much for being here first. I am so appreciative. Let's see. Mary H is here. Hello, Mary H. Sandra. Thank you so much for being here. Um, Calaveta Nujagu. There we go. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party and invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, "Thank you for being a friend." Okay, everybody, all together. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, "Thank you for being a friend." What's that? One more time? Okay, here we go. And I'm just kidding. I think the second time was probably one too many. Emma D, thank you so much for being here. Wouldn't be the same without you, kid. Mad World is here. Novi D. Novi D, have I thanked you for being a friend lately? Okay. Cue the music. uh, uh, Church Nellie is here. Our Lady of Sobriety is here. Thank you so much. I am going to build a shrine to you later. Um, let's see who else is here. Puzzle Dot is here. Vanessa Jones is here. Joan Garcia, Kathy G, Carolita Simone, Jelaine Monestein, Sharon Skinner, welcome. Val Rich, Sonia Johnson. Okay. Elaine Parker, thank you so much for being here. Okay. Nafisa Shabazz. Did you guys know that B. Arthur could not stand? She could not stand Betty White. That's right. B. Arthur could not stand Betty White. Oh, she was so sick of her. You hear me? Sick. She could not stand her. And I know why. I know why. Um, Betty White was very energetic. She was like the, how do I put it? The teacher's pet is the expression I heard. Um, the one of the producers said that he just asked uh, B. Arthur. She said, "What is this with you and Betty White?" And apparently, B. Arthur had suggested that they do something different with the script. And this was after Golden Girls. They had a sequel called, or not sequel, but a spinoff called Golden Palace. It only lasted for one season. So B. Arthur did two guest appearances. And one of the appearances, she suggested a change to the script. And they tried it. It didn't work. Um, and I guess for some reason, B. Arthur was not wanting any credit for it, win or lose, used or, you know, if they didn't use it, it did not matter. She really did not want certain people knowing that that was her suggestion. And Betty White just blurted it out, you know. Um, and B. Arthur was kind of a she was not an outgoing person. She was very um introverted, and she could play the part, but that's not who she was. She was very sensitive and she was very much an introvert. And but she was so talented. All of those women on the show were super talented, all of them. I mean, that's just one thing you could never take away from any of them is how talented they were. And there were times when B needed people to be still around her, right? When they yell cut, she would prefer that you take it down. But Betty White was just like a joke a minute, a joke a minute. And all those wisecracks that you got from B. Arthur as Maud or as Dorothy Spornak, that is not who she was. I mean, she could be a lot of fun, but not all the time, you know? And so that's the only way I can describe it. These are my words, no one else's. In between acts, she really needed people to be still so that she can decompress from the moment. And you just did not get that stillness if you were in Betty White's company. So they were so opposite of each other, which is a real shame that there was that weirdness with them because they had known each other probably for 40, 50 years at that point by the time B. Arthur passed away. So, what can you say? Some people just grate on your nerves. And that was something that B. Arthur felt as she felt very exhausted. That was one of the words that she used is um, that she could be a bit exhausting, right? And even Betty White said that she didn't think B. Arthur liked her, and I can understand why. I can understand why. So, um, one of my hobbies is I like to watch a lot of interviews of the stars, you know, the actors that were in movies and shows and such. And if you watch enough of them, you'll be amazed at some of the stuff that you learn about people and about their backstory and such. And so, yeah, that was probably one of the reasons why B. Arthur quit. She could not stand Betty White. Could not stand her. She didn't hate her. She just could not stand to be around her. Uh, what's that? I can sympathize with B. Arthur. My mother-in-law from hell grates on my nerves too. Yeah, I mean, I've I've known people like that, and you know, I know how to uh, take it down when I'm not doing this. Um, I'm probably very opposite from what people think I am around the house. Now, I can be a lot of fun. I'm very fun to travel with. And I got this weirdness. Anytime I have a doctor's appointment, I cannot stop telling jokes because I'm very nervous and I'm, you know, I, some of the stuff I say would, if you were like a real professional, and you did not like that kind of banter while you're trying to work. Like I remember when I got a colonoscopy and I told the doctor when he was, you know, starting to do the thing with the scope and everything, and I looked at the monitor, I wasn't quite out yet, and I said, "Now you know what? That looked like a bowl of chitlins." And he said, "You need to shut up." I could not help it. And God only knows what I said while I was, in twilight, as they call it. God only knows what I said. Um, but yeah, that's something that you probably did not know about me, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not good with doctor's appointments. I'm not afraid, but I can't stop talking and I cannot stop telling jokes. I mean, just one after the other. You would think I was doing a stand-up routine. Um and even the phone call to make the appointment, if I get a chance to, um, I will have you like customer service. Sometimes I have the customer service person on the line way past whatever I called about. And the ones that really love me are the ones that are trying to wrap up the day and they just needed that one last phone call to last. Well, honey, buckle your seatbelt because we are going for a ride. And yeah, by the time I'm done, they're in a good mood. I'm still nervous and agitated for whatever reason, but you would never know it because I'm not behaving as though I'm nervous. I'm actually, talking a lot. So that's just a little thing that I've that I do when I'm feeling anxious. Elaine Parker, thank you so much. Where's my bell? There we go. Oh, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for being here, of course. And let's see, Carlita Simone, thank you for the super sticker and supporting Royal Sussex. And Kavan Slim says, all of Meghan haters have a common thread. Their mothers abandoned them, or their partners dumped them for a younger person, or they got scammed by a Nigerian prince, or they were born with a long face. Thank you so much for the super chat. And yes, I would say that's very accurate. I told you all of those hateful women that work for the tabloids, the ones that have what do they call it? Body dysmorphia. They have been dumped and they have gone through their midlife crisis and they're all a bunch of gatekeepers anyway. But yeah, they all seem to have a common thread. They all seem to march to the beat of the same drummer, if you will. And something about Meghan, they just cannot stand the idea that Meghan is married to a royal prince and is living happily ever after. They have a fantastic life. And the idea that Harry is considering boarding school for the children, um, that's going to be a while. You know what I mean? And by the time that comes around, um, a lot of things in this world will probably have changed. The world is moving at a very fast pace right now, and it's not an exciting thing for some people. It is kind of frightening. However, um, whether we feel good about it or not, the winds of change are blowing. But the good thing is the pendulum always swings in the other direction. How long that takes? Now that's a mystery, but it will. Um, Joan Garcia says, okay, I will say it. They are all ugly too. Huh. There's that too. There's definitely that. Um, what's that old expression? They look like they got hit with an ugly stick. Yep, that's an old expression. You look like somebody beat you with an ugly stick. Yep, that describes it. That's another way to describe it. They all seem to have a certain, I would say it seems like they're missing a chromosome or something. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something in the brew that just did not make it to you know, didn't make it. Didn't bubble up to the surface. Uh okay. Thank you very much, Joan Garcia, and thank you for being a member. All right. Prince Harry. Just a little recap for Prince Harry. He has had a very awesome birthday. I'm certain of that. But you know that 805 triple eight or whatever that is that they have in um, Montecito for the volunteer fire department? I do believe that that is coming up where they acknowledge the emergency responders, all of whom I believe are volunteers. So whether or not the Harry is going to be a part of that, or whether or not both of them are going to be there, that is a mystery. There has been no announcement, but one of the squaddies did remind us that that was coming up. And if you're thinking, oh, you just alerted the media, no, there's that cranky old man that lives or says he lives close to the Sussexes. He writes for the local newspaper, so you know he knows. Okay. Um, so yeah, there's that. So I'm not telling them anything that they don't already know, and I'm not giving them any heads up. Um, Chances are that that guy who they uh, pull out of mothballs every time they need to disparage the Sussexes where Montecito is concerned, they say, "Oh, we're going to talk to one of their neighbors." They never say how close he lives. They He always says, "Oh, well, you know, Harry is quite nice. People like him, but I've never seen her. But she's not really favored by anyone here. Nobody ever sees her." Well, if you haven't seen her, how do you know nobody likes her? Duh. Anyway, that guy is insufferable. So yeah, that is coming up. So that may be a possibility. There is no update about the that was it a gala that they were supposed to honor Meghan, and they called it off because of, oh, I don't remember what happened, but they called it off. Well, we don't know if and when that is going to happen, and maybe they have just shelved it for the time being. So that is something that I was hoping for, but for now, um, there has been no other mention of it. I mean, almost to the point where I'm pretty sure a lot of people have forgotten about it. I know I did for a while, but then I'm just like, hey, what about that gala? So there's that. But otherwise, I don't know what's coming up next. I mean, September is always a busy month for Harry, for sure. And we do know that, oh gosh, what is it? Megan has her Christmas show coming up, but we don't know if they have recorded it already or if it's in the planning stages. But at some point, they will record it. And I suppose when that happens, we're going to see uh, all those trucks over at that other house in Montecito. So when that happens, we will get plenty notice about it, I am sure. So that is, if it hasn't been recorded already. We don't know. They did not say one way or the other. But I'm hoping that by the end of the year, there will be some announcement about future projects, I hope. But not too soon because we don't want to give the tabloids too much of a head start. You know what I'm saying? It's better if you just surprise them. And I love when the Sussexes do extraordinary things and they have no clue that it's coming. So I think that's about it for my Sussex update for now. We're going to get back to the scandal of the state visit. Oh, that is the gift that keeps giving. Well, I mean, Feminagra does have an article. Kate Middleton sits beside Trump, who once spoke disparagingly about her and Diana. Well, I guess everybody knows that Trump was trying to date Diana, and Diana didn't want to have anything to do with him. And of course, as far as Kate is concerned, when those photos of her flapjacks made it into that French newspaper, um, that time when we found out that Kate was on the committee. You know what committee that is, right? We found out that Kate was on the committee. Yes, that committee. Go ahead and feel free to mention it in the chat if you know the name of that committee. But we found out that she was in a committee or on a committee, and uh, and listen, I wasn't impressed. I was not impressed. I'm like, that's it? Are you sure that's not William? Nope, it wasn't William. It was Kate. I couldn't tell. Oh, come on, Rhonda Anderson. Spell it out. Give us the whole name. You won't get in trouble. I promise. Give us the whole name. Oh, I tell you, that is a sad committee to be on. Well, I mean, it's not so bad. I mean, just think of some of those ancient sculptures from Greece and Rome. uh, okay. I think we're missing one letter, though. The itty bitty something else committee. Yes, the itty bitty something else committee. And you have to substitute something else. Oh, man. You'll have to substitute that word yourself. But yes, we found out about the committee. Hey, there's a lot of famous people on that committee. So it's not important. It's what's in your heart. That's what's important. Thank you, Heather Stroud. Thank you very much. Now that's the one. You could either go to IHOP or you can just buy that magazine. There was some drama with the Marine One helicopter. Apparently, they had to make an emergency landing. Now, I'm not going to say anything, you know, that's going to get me in trouble because really that's not in my heart anyway. Um, it would have caused more problems than it could have ever solved. How about that? No matter how we feel about either side of the aisle, especially at a time like we are in right now, it would have been a complete nightmare. So I'm glad they made it down to the ground safely. And I'm glad nobody was hurt. They didn't explain what the malfunction or whatever the problem was, but they had to make an emergency landing, and that is very rare with one of those helicopters, and very rare for any of the presidential flights. I remember George Bush, the elder George Bush, his plane had lost cabin pressure, and so they had to, put it down really fast. So even the world's safest aircraft, the world's safest helicopter, you can still have problems, obviously. So let's see what happens, though. Let's see what happens if they even mention it again. But that did happen. So I'm glad they made it safely. No shade. It would have been a total disaster had the worst happened. Okay, moving on. This person right here, the big giant talking head, you probably recognize him. Yesterday, we found out that that monster was at the state dinner. The man who has caused so much grief and heartache with his brand of journalism, which I am really being generous by calling it journalism, because really it's just one hatchet job after the next. So many innocent people have been harassed and mistreated. They have been spied upon. Um, they have had their lives ruined because of his brand of journalism. And of course, when I say him, I'm speaking of Rupert Murdoch. How Rupert Murdoch destroyed the news. One man was determined, and this would not have happened if media was not dying a slow death. I once heard that when television began to present the news, and some of you may have heard this before, it was considered a necessity to present updates about things that were going on, presenting some type of public service news. It was not for profit. It was not meant to be for profit. It was meant to be of service to the community. Well, people that grew up with newspapers were somewhat skeptical of a news broadcast. But of course, a lot of the news people for the local news stations, they were the local television stations. A lot of the writers and producers and the television journalists, they were originally on radio and in newspaper. A lot of them came over from the newspapers. Well, over time, it became profitable. But a lot of people would watch the news and still defer to a newspaper. I had an uncle that used to buy the three Chicago newspapers, and that did not include the Chicago Defender, although he did buy Ebony and Jet magazines. I don't know if he ever read the Defender, but I just remember going to the store for him and getting the Daily News, the Sun Times, and the Tribune. So those three newspapers. And of course, the Sun Times, they were two different newspapers, the Sun and the Times. Nothing to do with Rupert Murdoch. I'll just let you know that. They had nothing to do with Rupert Murdoch. Um, so, yeah, Very well read, my uncle. So even people that watch the evening news, sometimes they would have their newspaper by their side. And just like we Google things, some people would still look at their newspaper. It would help television news to actually have more um, authority if you can attract people from the newspapers. It would also legitimize the report if the report was in a newspaper first, and they'll say, well, the New York Times had wrote an article about it and such. And they still do that. They still love to quote the New York Times because it is like the last paper of its kind in the United States. It is the last. There's not going to be another. All of these other ones have been bought out by these big conglomerates and stuff. So, it's the end of an era if that paper ever goes away. And trust me, Rupert Murdoch would love to buy the New York Times. But fortunately, as we saw with that chart the other day, the New York Times is doing extremely well. But then again, so was Twitter when they sold it. So that's no guarantee. But let's just hope it doesn't come to that. Anyway, so Rupert Murdoch came in at just the right time and started buying up all of these local newspapers in various countries, usually focusing on the United States and Britain, mostly Britain, and then eventually the United States. And I'm always fussing about Newsweek. Newsweek was, one of the best news magazines. Everything that happened in the past week has been encapsulated in those articles. But now it's a gossip rag. And People magazine, that was once a section of the Time magazine. They had a section in Time magazine called People. And back in the 70s, I remember when People magazine branched out to become a thing of its own. So that way they wouldn't taint Time magazine with that gossip and other stuff. But yeah, so the television news was meant to be a not for profit type of endeavor. I mean, there was no restriction for it, but it was a public service. And then at some point, you had people in television making more than people in the big newspapers. And even better than that, you had some local news anchors that were making more money than the big national anchors for the, like ABC, NBC, CBS. Their salaries rivaled the network. It used to be you would love to leave local and go to the network. Well, so, sooner or later, people were better off if they just stayed in a small town because they had these huge audiences. Okay. And one last little factoid about the way the television news evolved. There's a television station in Chicago called WLS. WLS means world's largest store. You probably can guess which local business started that television station. At the time, it was the world's largest retailer, Sears Roebuck and Company. So if you watch WLS TV in Chicago, it means world's largest store. And all of the local stations, those letters actually mean something. It's not just random, but it comes from like let's see, WJPC radio. Well, WJPC was Johnson Publishing Company. So the W, I forgot what the W was for. But yeah, WJPC. They always start with a W, I think. Um, so, yeah, I think so. Yeah. But anyway, that was for the Johnson Publishing Company radio, which was a black-owned um, magazine company and fashion fair cosmetics and all that. So yeah, that's now you get the point. Is that most of the local television stations and radio stations were founded by a local business, someone who owned a car dealership to promote their car dealership might buy a start a radio station, and that way you got free advertisement plus you're making money from other people. So it was the FCC, the Federal Communication whatever. They said if you want a license you have to give public service with news, and that's what they did. But now look at where we are with television news. It is very profitable. Not as profitable as it used to be, but still they make money. Fox News makes money, even with pillow commercials. Not as much as they used to, but they still make money. And Rupert Murdoch took advantage of a lot of these television stations and newspapers that were losing subscribers or losing viewers. And he came in and offered them something that they could not refuse. And then what may have been a very left leaning local news suddenly turned into what it is today, which is really sad because there's a proud history of journalism in the United States. And I don't want to sound boastful, but there was a world of difference between the coverage from the news here in the US in comparison to that style of British journalism. But now, if you look at a lot of these news programs and such, somewhere in there is someone who started their career in the UK. There's going to be someone on staff that is very conservative, very right leaning, and they do not have that same spirit as the type of journalist that came from like a state like Iowa, Idaho, or Illinois, Michigan. I mean, those Midwestern journalists, they would go to the big city. They'd start at their local newspaper, go to the big city, get those big jobs with a nationally circulated newspaper or television or something. And I mean, pretty much they brought some very small town values, but they were also very liberal in so many cases. And I miss those days, but they used to just tell the story. They had ethics. They would just tell the story. It wasn't about how they felt. It wasn't about what a Rupert Murdoch believed. They would tell the story. Now, they weren't perfect. They were not perfect by any stretch. But there have been times where I look at the difference in journalism and I'm just like, how did we get here? Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch, a one man destruction machine. He doesn't look like much. And you know, when I found out that he had got married to that Smith lady, I was so glad when I saw this making this round on social media. There was some guy with a black hooded robe and a sickle of all things, and he was going around asking people, "Do you know where I can find the Murdoch Smith wedding? Do you know where I can find the Murdoch Smith wedding?" And doggone it, he never asked me because I would have found out. I would have helped him because I'm just that kind of person. If I know somebody is, family or have some business with the renegade owner of a multinational news organization, I want to make sure that they find that person and that they spend as much time as they need. You know what I'm saying? I will turn a blind eye. um, but this is when you have to say how proud you are of Prince Harry. Claire says another example of why Prince Harry will forever be the only Windsor with a backbone. While he's dragging Murdoch to court, King Charles and Prince Willie are dining with him. Okay, and ain't that the truth? It says there lawyers for Prince Harry will take on Rupert Murdoch News Group newspaper. Now that's a old article, I think. Um, and he did. He did. Hello, Janice Goodrich, Kay O'Brien. And then take a look there on the right. Rupert Murdoch's News Group newspaper apologizes to Prince Harry in court as settlement reached in privacy case. Harry literally had to put on a poker face. Harry was about to do what nobody else had ever done, and that was to see it through. Harry said, I am uniquely placed. I am uniquely placed to see this through, and I will see it through. And guess who blinked first? Guess who blinked first in this David and Goliath battle? Well, I'll give you a hint. It was not Harry. It was not Harry. And for anyone listening to my voice that has any doubt of the love that Meghan has for her husband, let me tell you something. If Meghan just walked away from it all, life would be so much easier for her. But people don't understand the Duchess of Sussex. Well, should I say the derangers don't understand? She is a formidable woman, and she definitely has a backbone. And she believes in fighting for what's right just as much as Harry does. And I'm sure there was never a day when she said, is it really worth it? No, never. I don't believe she ever did. I believe Meghan was in it to win it. She was going to stay and fight alongside her husband as long as it takes. And there was never, ever any sign that Harry was going to back down. He was not going to roll over and expose the soft belly flesh to this carnivorous monster. See there? Wow. President John F. Kennedy niece praises Prince Harry for securing an overdue apology for Princess Diana from a rarely apologetic Rupert Murdoch machine. You see there, Maria Shriver. Rupert Murdoch outlets rarely apologize. The Prince Harry case was different. Bravo to him for staying the course and getting the apology he needed and that his mother was due. And don't forget, there was a settlement somewhere north of $12 million or 12 million pounds. There was a lovely amount of money that was part of that settlement. It went beyond an apology. And remember, Harry single-handedly was able to do something as a plaintiff that no one else had ever done. Everybody usually has to just accept the payment, the settlement, because there's something weird about the British courts where even if you win, you lose. If you go to trial and you win, you still are going to lose a lot. You could still end up bankrupt. But Harry was willing to risk everything so that he could protect not only his family, but even his family over in Narnia, his nieces and nephews. He's protecting future generations by showing what can be done if you just stick to your principles. At any time, a lot of the abuse that these Sussexes were suffering could have ended. And that's why the tabloids journalists get so angry and triggered. If he just plays the game, if he just shut up, if he just this, if he just that, then things would be so much easier. And don't forget, his father told him that it is a fool's errand. He didn't say it like that. He used that term for self harm. Um, oh, my darling boy, you should just give it up. It's not going to work out. It's futile. But Harry stayed the course and got an apology for his mother, something that his brother did not do. His brother just took a settlement and didn't even tell anybody that he took a settlement. He just took the money and said nothing. He did not get an apology. Instead, he made a deal. Go after my brother and sister in law and their children, but you have to leave my family alone. Kind of the same deal that Charles and his emotional support Camilla has. It's not that the Sussexes are bad people. This vendetta from William, this hate campaign from Kensington Palace, and of course, this money making machine known as the tabloid media is the reason why there's always a negative story about Harry or Meghan or both every day. They have done some type of offense, whether it's elder abuse, whether they've lied about something, it's something. And if they can't find something, about 80% of the time, they'll just go back to another story from the past. Rinse and repeat. And this is something that happens any given day of the week. All because Harry didn't want to play the game that cost him his mother. But his brother is definitely an active participant in the tabloid media game. And there on the left, you can see, what's her name? Victoria Newton. That's the one who said, back off Kate, leave Kate alone. No, she's not all right. When we ask questions about Kate's character, when we delve into the inconsistencies of her precancerous cells, and of course, when we ask how in the world did the Franken photo happen, and the thing is, that photograph was not the first one. There's several photos that is the sloppiest editing that you could ever find. But yet, in the name of creating this image for Kate, who can do no wrong, Kate is a Pulitzer Prize winning photographer. Kate's photography has saved villages. It has saved all of humanity. Kate's photography has spoken for those who do not have a voice. I'm just kidding, of course. It's done none of that. Her photography is very amateurish, very lackluster, but yet they build her up like she is some kind of genius, like she is this great artist. And instead, she's just a mom that's taking pictures of her kids, and not even great pictures. The only reason why they say the pictures are good is because the kids are interacting with their mother, not that they're so clever. Of course, they're going to respond to her in a way they wouldn't respond to most photographers. Of course, they are. There's nothing talented about Kate. Not the way she dressed, walk, talk, nothing. She's so average. Just talking about her, I'd start to doze off. But yet they build her up as though she is this overachiever, this high achiever. Nothing could be further from the truth. She is as dull as dishwater. You could spend a whole day with her and learn absolutely nothing if you can understand what she's saying. And I'm not being mean, I'm just being truthful. You can barely understand her. But yet they build her up like she is F. Murray Abraham. They build her up like she's Billy Graham or something like that. One of the greatest orators that has ever lived. Are you kidding me? You need subtitles to talk to her. It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for her. I'm embarrassed for him. It's embarrassing. They're none of the things that they claim that they are. In other words, they're not Harry, they're not Meghan. And I hate to make the comparison, but they do, so why not? They're not those people. Now, revealed the Sun's catch and kill deal with celebrities. It's a protection racket. If it was anything else, they would call it a protection racket. You ever hear those charges against organized crime, mail fraud, racketeering? Well, that's what racketeering is. It's a racket where you have exclusive access. And in terms of catch and kill, well, if you are, let's say, an editor and you buy a story from someone, like the lady that tried to sell the story about the person in the White House. Well, after she signed that NDA, it was exclusive to Star newspaper or magazine, whatever you want to call it. And she could not share that story anyplace else. The only way that you can get around that NDA is if you're subpoenaed or if you're part of a criminal case, if you're charged with a crime, then of course that absolves you from any restrictions. But if that is not the case, when they pull your chain, you had better bark. When they say showtime, you better sing like Aretha Franklin. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. And you bet not perjure yourself. So they're alleging that she's part of it. And to Rupert Murdoch, just like Rebecca Brooks, she's like a daughter. She's the one who is the editor of The Sun. She is the one who sat back and allowed that article from Clarkson. What's his name? Clarkson, the article where he spoke, Jeremy Clarkson, where he spoke about all those terrible things he wanted to do to Meghan. She was the one who signed off on it. She's the one who gave it the okay. Now, either she's not good at her job or she is just willfully part of it all. But when it came to Kate, when people asked questions, in other words, when people began to treat Kate much in the same way that they treated Meghan, not nearly as bad because it wasn't about race, all of a sudden there was this panic. And it took Jeannie Bond to be the first, and as far as I know, the only one to say, if you don't want this scrutiny for Kate Middleton, then we cannot continue to go after Meghan. You just can't do it. You can't have it both ways. and expect people to be okay with it. I wasn't. I certainly wasn't. And I did not hesitate to criticize every chance I got. I asked questions. I probed. I did everything that I could to get to the bottoms of the story. So yeah, and it's not that I don't have any sympathy for Kate, but I just want things to be fair and on an even playing field. I want it to be a leveled playing field. How's that? So also, you guys, I did listen to Jeannie Bond. You guys had told me that, but anyway, I'm going to talk about that later. Okay, let me continue here. But yeah, the politicians are afraid of Rupert Murdoch. In some cases, they're more fearful of him in the UK than people in the US are afraid of Donald Trump. His brand of journalism is just what you see there. It is very, very messy. News of the world. Um, oh, look at there. They called it End of the World. He doesn't own Time Magazine, right? I don't think so. But yeah, that looks like a homicide is taking place. And it kind of feels like a terrible crime um, has taken place any given day with the Rupert Murdoch journalism. As an American, let me just tell you this. If they found out that someone from a newspaper, no matter how high up, if they found out that someone from a newspaper had given a green light to committing burglaries, bugging people's homes or offices or restaurants, if any of those things that had happened in the US, do you know how much trouble you would be in? And then when it comes to the civil suit, you would be penniless. You would be penniless. The punishment would be so severe. And I don't want to say that there's not people among us that, commit white collar crimes and they walk free. We already know that there's a major person like that in the White House. But what I'm saying is, I was shocked to find out some of the things that have happened going into people's medical records and such. You'd be in a lot of trouble here in the US. A lot of trouble. Especially breaking and entering just to gather information like that. Whereas with the British tabloid media, I think a couple of people went to jail. But the major players, the people that are called into question, like Rebecca Brooks or Pierce Morgan, they're still free. Nothing's happened to them. Even Rebecca Brooks she admitted to the fact that she is willing to bend the law. They said, "Have you ever bent the law?" In so many words. Well, in order to get a story, yes, we have. Now, she made it seem like it was something noble, but it's not. You broke the law. If you broke the law, you broke the law. But the punishment was almost non existent, save for just a couple people. And this is the man who went to the state dinner. They invited him to the state dinner, what's left of him. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, what is he doing there? He's at the state dinner. For as much grief as he has caused several people in that room, most of whom are terrified of him. They invite him to dinner. That is insane. How do you do that? Why do you do that? Yes, he's old and probably very frail, but I wouldn't be surprised if he lived another 10 years. I really wouldn't. Whatever state or condition he's in 10 years from now, I would not be surprised if he still had a steady heartbeat. Like a honey badger, you could step on him or whatever, and he's going to shake it off. I'd like to see somebody try, but he'll just shake it off. Let me see. Where's that picture of him from yesterday? I couldn't believe it. I'm just like, what the F is he doing there? Ah, there it is. There he is right there at the state dinner. He's so shriveled up, you can't even see his eyes anymore. And yet somebody thought it was a good idea to invite him. Now, apparently, he's handing over authority to one of his sons. There's one son that I have actually seen photographed with Harry. He would like to take the company in another direction. And then there's the one who's likely to inherit all of the power and the, control of the company. He wants to maintain the status quo. But those two companies, don't forget, I believe there's still a lawsuit from one of the Votomatic companies, one of the companies that provided the voting machines. Two companies were accused of helping to steal the election. But the places where the election was called into dispute or called into question, they did not operate their equipment in those states. So one of the companies settled with Murdoch for 787 million US dollars. I repeat, 787 million US dollars. And the reason why it's easy to remember that is because of the 787 aircraft. Same numbers, $787 million they settled. Had they not settled, had it gone to court, again, this is US, a civil case like that, they were asking for over, I think it was $1.5 billion, something like that. They had asked for a lot of money, like maybe $2 billion. Trust me, they may have gotten more than that. Now, Murdoch would have appealed, and another judge would have probably taken it down a great deal, but they still would have got over $1 billion. Trust me when I say this, because it was a very solid case. They had no choice but to settle. But something like that could have bankrupted Rupert Murdoch. It could have bankrupted that company. And I'm sorry they didn't see it through. Oh, God, sorry about that. And the mysterious guy in the black hooded cloak, he was also spotted in the city center. Do you know where I can find the Murdoch Smith wedding? He asked. For some reason, people were kind of creeped out by him, but not me. I call him a friend, a real friend. um, you know what? I'm going to get him a GPS for Christmas if he celebrates Christmas, or she, could be a she. Oh, he's stepping down to protect the company? I cannot believe that he is still actually making decisions, but it's easy to be cruel. Being cruel is easy. That's an old saying. It is easy to be cruel. And for some people, it comes easier than others. Murdoch has fueled polarization of society, Barack Obama says. Biden finds Murdoch's most dangerous man in the world. Now, those are two U.S. presidents that had no use for him. And those warnings are not hollow, they are very true. The decline of Western civilization as we know it is due in part to Rupert Murdoch's press. That's how serious that is. There's a lot of people who don't know his name, will never know his name, but trust me when I say this, they have suffered in some way because of him. The New York Post. I watched a video on YouTube. An antique dealer received a crystal punch bowl that came from Harry and Meghan's wedding. I don't know if it was like a party favor or whatever, but it was a crystal punch bowl. He didn't know how much it was worth, but he also had a YouTube channel. So he asked people, what do you think it's worth? And a couple of them said the most nasty things about Meghan. But I can never forget the one who said XYZ or XYZ about Meghan. And I know this because I read it in the New York Post, he said. He read it in the New York Post. This very gruff, streetwise hobo, or he looked like a hobo, he read some disparaging things about Meghan in the New York Post, and he believes everything that's in the New York Post without question. And we already know how the New York Post operates. It was sad to hear this person say that they would take the word of the New York Post over common sense. But that's what's tricky about it. If you see it in print, chances are, well, not for everybody, but there's enough people who believe that if it's in print, it must be real. Otherwise, why would they say it? How could they get away with it if it's not real? The answer is they just do. You just throw an alleged or sources close to, and I'll never reveal my sources. You just throw enough of those in there, and you can make just about anything true. And yes, those two, it should come as no surprise that they would be photographed with Rupert Murdoch. Three of a kind. Three of a kind. Yep, it should come as no surprise to see the three of them together. King Charles conspires with Rupert Murdoch to destroy his son, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle. I wish I could say that that's not true. I wish I could say that that's not true. But no matter where the relationship between father and son ends up, the one thing that we cannot unsee is Charles taking security away from his son, his daughter in law, and his grandchild. Abruptly removing security and pretending like he had no say in the matter. This is the same father who showed up at the courthouse before one of those trials just to say thank you to the people at the courthouse. Instead of um, recusing himself from entering the courthouse while there is still litigation, he goes over to the courthouse just to say thank you. Thank you for doing your job. Thank you so much for doing your job. God only knows who he spoke to and about what. And in case you don't know it, Charles is invincible. He cannot be prosecuted. He cannot be called as a witness ever again in life. The sovereign can never be called upon as a witness, which means that no matter what he does, he he's immune. He is immune from prosecution, and you can never call him to be a witness. It's just that simple. He is immune from prosecution. You can call his children into court, you can call his brother into court, but Charles, he no longer needs a passport or a driver's license. He is king. None of that stuff applies to him. He is the embodiment of the unwritten constitution. When asked why New Zealand does not suffer from the rage of older white men as in other Western countries, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern replied, because we've never allowed Rupert Murdoch to set up a media outlet here. Murdoch's been allowed to wreak havoc in the UK and other places. They could have been stopped. All of this could have been stopped. And you'll be surprised to know the president who allowed the Fox Newses and such to happen, William Jefferson Clinton. I will never forget this. Bill Clinton wanted to seem more capable. And so it was his desire to to have Colin Powell as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Colin Powell had a son who ended up taking over the FCC. Now, the FCC, they're the ones who will grant a license to the media companies. They're the ones who can block the acquisition of other radio or television. There was a law at one time that you could not own more than one radio station, more than one television station in the same market, which means you could not have two radios or three television stations in any given city. Um, you could have one or the other. And then, of course, to avoid monopolies, they could always prevent any of these media companies from becoming too big. Well, it is alleged that Disney wants to buy, is it Tubi or whatever? And because they need support from Donald Trump's FCC, allegedly, that would explain Jimmy Kimmel. The same way with CBS and Stephen Colbert. These are wealthy, conservative white men sticking together. Now, because of Jimmy Kimmel, a lot of people are getting rid of of particular parts of their streaming service. This is going to make um, Target. This is going to make that Target thing seem like a walk in the park, because there's several ways that you could approach this. One of them, of course, is what you stream. The other way is well, they have other assets. Okay? I'll just say that. They have other assets that could be vulnerable. And there's a lot of people that are going to go on a campaign to express themselves financially. Okay? So it is going to cost them. They may rethink it. Don't be surprised if they decide to rethink it. They may not have a choice because it's about to get ugly. And trust and believe there are more people that are supportive of that late night show than there are people against it. And that includes people that don't even watch it, they only watch it occasionally. Ah, really? Isn't that a coinky dink? Isn't that something? Oh, what a twisted web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Once asked Rupert Murdoch, I once asked Rupert Murdoch why he was so opposed to the European Union. That's easy, he replied. When I go into Downing Street, they do what I say. When I go to Brussels, they take no notice. Now, to be fair to Rupert Murdoch, he claims he never said that. I have never asked for anything from any prime minister, Rupert Murdoch's letter says. So there you go. Some people say that that is the gospel. Rupert Murdoch said that has never happened. Well, who are you going to believe? On a number of occasions, now your paper has quoted me as saying, when I go into Downing Street, they do as I say. When I go to Brussels, they take no notice. There is much fake news published about me, says Rupert Murdoch. But let me make clear, I have never uttered those words. I have made it a principle all my life never to ask for anything from any prime minister. Rupert Murdoch, New York, USA. Yeah, he claims that that never happened. Who are you going to believe? He claims that never happened. I hope this is interesting to you guys. I know that a lot of you guys know this stuff already, but for the benefit of those who are not really clear, I thought it a good idea to explain some of this stuff. And I'm just explaining it to the best of my ability and from what I can recall and some of the, you know, articles that I have saved or screenshots or whatever. Now, let's get on to this. Jeannie Bond. I'm not going to play the sound for this, but I'm going to say this about it. I know you all said that she was very critical of Prince Harry. Now, I recall Ingrid Seaweed or Seaward or what is it? Seep, Ingrid Seaward, like Newark, Seaward. I recall Ingrid speaking about Prince Harry. And you guys said, no, it was Jeannie Bond. Well, you know what? Both of them. It was both of them. So I didn't see Jeannie Bond until, well, probably late last night. And I listened to it twice. And yes, she said that it's unfortunate that Harry mentioned he has no regrets. It's unfortunate. What she was really trying to say is that she has given them ammunition, that he has given them um, the material that they need to write a whole bunch of stories and to get a bunch of crap started up again. She sympathizes with Harry, and I believe that Jeannie Bond is trying to protect the monarchy. She is not trying to protect Harry. She is not trying to protect Meghan. She's trying to protect the monarchy. She is doing for the monarchy what the other members of the press will not do, and that is protect them, save them from themselves. So listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Please listen to what I'm saying. Do not believe that I'm giving her a pass because I suspect she had flat out lied about something to do with Princess Diana. I don't believe a word of it. And I do not believe that she is trying to help the Sussexes. I believe she is trying to salvage what's left of the monarchy before they completely tear it down to the ground. In particular, William. And it is totally possible that there are at least two or three people that care more about the monarchy than they care about these little split screen television appearances. In other words, somebody is being the adult. This is the same Jeannie Bond who said, if you don't want people to go after Kate, we have to leave Meghan alone. And I take her at her word. Now, I have been very, blunt. I have called her piranha face a few times. I haven't forgotten who she is. I haven't forgotten what she stands for. But I do believe that this is not about the Sussexes. This is about the monarchy. And it's not even about, if we don't save the monarchy, we may not have a job in the future. If the monarchy crumbles tomorrow, there's going to be plenty to write about, enough to sustain everyone in journalism for the rest of their lives, because people will never stop losing interest in the monarchy. Even after it has been stripped of its power and authority, people will still write about it. There will still be that fascination, that other world that most of us will never see the inside of. But in you know how they say in any group of people, there's going to be one person who is this, another person who is that. Like they say, if you have 10 people in the room, at least one or two of them are going to be gay. They say it's been like that since the beginning of time, and it'll be like that 100 years, 1,000 years from now. I believe that in the tabloid media, if you put enough of them in the room, there are going to be a few of them who see the big picture that will try to save them from themselves. And I believe that that is the course that she's taken. Now, I could be completely wrong, but abruptly she started changing her tune about the Sussexes, not necessarily giving them all the grace and favor in the world, but she started singing from a different hymn book compared to the other journalists. And it's okay. She's allowed to do that. And if she decides to backslide, that is her prerogative. She can do that too. But either way, there's going to be somebody that is going to try to save that institution. Now, whether she is that one or she's the other or the third one, I don't know. But she sees the big picture and she's being very pragmatic about it. So I did not get from this interview what you all did. I saw someone who is frustrated because they're hoping that the family can come back together for the good of the institution. There have been too many people who have said that this is a bad course to take. And this is why I tolerate the professor, Tim, whatever his name is, because in between a lot of the nonsense that he speaks, like even today, he said that William's constant complaining, William speaking out or having his people explain things like the thing with his brother being at the church. I pointed out yesterday there was like 5 articles that cautioned William was very uncomfortable. William was very furious. It makes people notice it more because there's so many people speaking for William. The dignified thing to do is to keep your mouth shut. Use those same virtues that Queen Elizabeth did. Keep your mouth shut. Let them guess what you're thinking. They say that Harry wears his heart on his sleeve. But point by point by point by point, it is William who is the biggest offender. They say that Harry talks too much. It's William. He just has his people do it. He have them dispatch some type of brief faster than you could say jumping jack flash. It's just the same as if it comes from him. And that's what the professor was saying. Your role as monarch, as the future monarch, is one of grace. You cannot, this is unsustainable. You cannot be the biggest crybaby and expect people to respect you. Harry and those Netflix cameras. You know the Will and Kate greeting Trump and Melania at the helicopter. You know that's another one of those slow motion videos on social media that comes from Kensington Palace. Everything is in slow motion with the pretty music in the background and Kate walking in slow motion, William walking in slow motion, and Donald Trump, he walks the same way he always walks, but he's getting on. So even when he ain't in slow motion, he's in slow motion. Melania, she's moving in slow motion. And that's everything they do. They get the cameras out. It is going to be a video. But that is what they accused Harry and Meghan of. And then miraculously, now they don't mention it anymore. I wonder why. Because that one right there would be too obvious. So I guess what I'm trying to say, you guys, is this. There are going to be some people like Dr. Tim, like a Jeannie Bond, that is straddling the fence. I say get from that what you can. I don't expect, I'm not naive enough to believe that they are completely supportive of the Sussexes. I don't see that. Their loyalty is for that institution. And they are both monarchists, and they are both very loyal to that institution. And I respect them for that because that's the only thing they've ever known in their life. And there are some people that are just genuinely afraid to lose that. So I cannot judge them for wanting to keep something that I think is inadequate and outdated. Because where I'm sitting right now, who would I be to say, you know what? You need to replace him with an elected president. That wouldn't go over well right now. It really wouldn't. At least with Charles, you don't wake up and find out a whole branch of government has been fired. I'm exaggerating, of course. But 400 people that provided a certain safety net for the greater good of society, you find out that they've been fired. The next day, another group of people, and this, I'm serious, this happened. This happened. The people who inspect the cruise ships, the one to spot check the safety of a cruise ship, to make sure that everything is functional for the safety of the passengers while they are in the ports of the United States, there were people, I am told, that inspect the ships. They're all fired. They're going to let the ships, the cruise companies, self-govern. They'll do their own inspections. Do you trust them? Okay. And then the next day, what do I find out? That one of the oversights for people that are incarcerated, they say that all of those people are gone. So if you are, well, people who are here on expired visas or whatever, what I'm trying to say is if you are undocumented or if you overstay your visa and you find yourself incarcerated, the people that you would complain to about medical care or anything else, it has been said that they're all fired. So if you have something you need to appeal, who would you speak to? And this is just 2 days, 2 days in the life of America. So I could not say to people of Britain, at least not at this time, I couldn't say, oh, you should go with an elected head of state. I won't say that for a long time. I may never say that again. I thought, they really should. Now I have my doubts. I could not, in good standing, say, do as we do. That ship has already sailed. So, but that being said, the fact that you have a monarchy that costs $500 million a year to maintain, you can still have a monarchy and not cost the British taxpayers $500 million a year. That is possible. It won't be the same, of course not. But $500 million a year? Price is too high. Who did this? Who did this? Who violated the sacred the sacred what am I looking for? The majesty, the elegance. Who violated? The first lady of the land. This is completely outrageous. This is outrageous. Whoever did this should see the business end of a buggy whip. As hard as she has worked for this country, yes, maybe she got her start in one of those houses. Maybe you've been to one of those houses. Maybe you worked in one of those houses. A church Nelly. Oh, excuse me, my sinuses. A church Nelly. Yes, maybe you've been to one of those houses, or maybe you worked in one of, or maybe you own one of those houses. A church Nelly. Oh, excuse me, my sinuses. It doesn't matter. I think this is completely outrageous, and I am going to share this with you just this one time, maybe two, and I will never share this again because the First Lady deserves far more respect than this childish image comparing her to a Teletubby. I thought it was awful when they compared her to a banana. But a Teletubby? Have they no decency? Besides, aren't Teletubbies nonverbal? Oh, you know what? I still think this works. If they're nonverbal, I think this still works. As a matter of fact, I can picture someone else. Maybe they should have a burgundy Teletubby. Yeah, a burgundy Teletubby. Anyway, did you guys know that there was a bit of controversy about that dress? I thought she looked nice. It's not the most interesting dress in the world, of course not. But I think it's elegant. It's very understated. I think in a period of austerity that we live in, it strikes just the right note. I mean, that is someone who could afford the best of anything and everything, and that's what she chose to wear. There was also a bit of controversy about the off the shoulder at a state dinner. They were saying that that may not have been appropriate. Although Queen Elizabeth has worn a strappy gown to a state dinner, and she bared her shoulders except for the straps to help maintain her modesty. So I don't think it's such a big deal. And of course, in ancient times, you had outfits that thrust your bosoms up and out. No danger of that with the Princess of Wales, right? Well, yeah, they had outfits that would thrust your breasts up and out like a shelf, like you could sit your drink on it, or maybe you can balance a little cocktail plate or something on it. You know what I'm saying? You could sit your purse on it while you're looking for your. What the hell am I talking about? I don't know. Um, yes, it's a real Peyton place. It really is. And then, of course, there's the lineup. I have to say, you guys, I am kind of full of compliments tonight. I am. This is almost out of character for me, but Donald Trump looks good for Donald Trump. He looks good. Let me explain. The first time he went to a state dinner, the tuxedo that he wore, it looked a fool. It looked an absolute mess. But this one is not too boxy, it's not too baggy, or it's a good fit. It's a good fit. Now it's riding up on one shoulder and kind of drooping on the other, but that's because they say that he's carrying a piece of equipment around with him that is there to help keep him on this side of things, if you know what I mean. That's what they say. Okay. Now, that being said, take a look there. Did Melania put your jacket in the dryer again? As you can see, Barack Obama's tuxedo fits him absolutely well, perfectly, absolutely perfect. George Bush, good fit. Ronald Reagan, good fit. Donald Trump, his waistcoat is almost down to his knees. It's not supposed to look like that. It is not supposed to look like that. His waistcoat is way too long. You're only supposed to have like a little peak of the bottom of the waistcoat, if that much. His sleeves are too long. His pants are too baggy. Everything is too baggy and boxy. And his waistcoat is about maybe 8 inches too long. A big sloppy mess. So again, compare his tuxedo to Barack Obama's. Trump doesn't even have a pocket square. Barack Obama's very well tailored. Of course, he has the physique of a model. Donald Trump, not so much. So he has come a long way. Trump's look is not my fault, says White House tailor, as he insists he doesn't know where President got his poorly fitted state banquet attire from. While Savile Row expert reveals it's wrong in every way. It is wrong in every way. You see there? Let's go down the list. And of course, this is Lord Nappyhead's paper, but let's just have some fun with it. Suit shoulders, boxy and sloppy. Waistcoat, too long, shows inches of white under his jacket. Jacket sleeves, too long. Coat tails, too short, hitting mid thigh instead of back of knees. Trousers, too big and too wide. Trouser droops on the floor. None of that is supposed to happen. That is the President of the United States. God, I can't believe I'm saying that. But that is the President of the United States. And his suit does not fit. And you can see how excited the Queen is having Donald Trump at Buckingham Palace. I mean, if you compare her appearance with Trump to that appearance of Barack Obama, you can see that she's almost beside herself with. You can see she's about to fall over from the joy and excitement of it. That stony look that she's given, that is just a ruse so that other people won't get jealous of Donald Trump. But she is having the time of her life. She wouldn't be anyplace else if you paid her. I'm being sarcastic, of course. And of course, just like with Queen Elizabeth, Donald Trump kind of shot out there to inspect the troops and was all over the place. Charles could barely keep up with him, just like he did the Queen. He almost ran the Queen over. Y'all know that, don't you? I mean, he almost ran her over. She kept jumping from side to side to a. She kept jumping from side to side to avoid getting stepped on. She was like right behind him. Now, that is a breach of protocol if I've ever seen one. And just common sense. We don't even have to say protocol, common sense. You would expect the host to lead you. But nope, he just comes gunning out there like he's going off to battle. And of course, just like with Charles' 76th birthday, um, I expect to see Oliver Twist as a juxtaposition. I would expect to see him walking up to the sovereign and saying, "Please, sir, may I have another? Please, sir, may I have another?" And then, of course, Charles will serve that duchy gruel. Hey, if you can't feed it to the hogs, give it to the poor and indigent, just like they would in Victorian times. Now, I don't know if you guys seen this. I cannot share the video with you, but it is so much fun. I am going to do what I can to share it with you. I made a series of slides, of course. And by the way, you all, thank you so much for being here. Please hit that like button. Please, 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 please hit that like button. As I said yesterday, there are more channels that are Sussex friendly spaces, and I support them all. As a matter of fact, I have a membership with at least two of them. And as such, Royal Sussex is not like it used to be in terms of views and in terms of likes and such, but it is so important to the algorithm. And yes, it doesn't bother me that people have found other options because, as I have said so many times, my voice should not be the only voice that you listen to. It is not. It's not. It's not sensible because as much as I try to get things right, I make mistakes too. and I have my own set of beliefs that may not be consistent with yours or another content creator. Having a variety of voices to listen to, which is why I tolerate the professor, which is why I tolerate quite a few of those people because I'm always hoping that they'll do the right thing. But I'm never swayed by their ignorance or their deception. Never that. But still, it is healthy to hear a variety of Sussex friendly voices. And that way you get a well rounded picture of what's going on. And maybe you'll find something else that's quirky or entertaining or informative. I say have at it. And if all of that is not enough and you feel like you need to take a break from social media, I just found out a couple of content creators. I didn't realize that they had taken a break, but I respect that. I respect that because your mental health and well being is far more important than anything I have to say. Okay. All right. So let me cue that up for you. But do take care of your mental health.
If an outfit could be a mullet, this would be it. It is business on the.
Okay. I think he just said if the outfit could be a mullet, I'm going to turn it up a little louder so you can hear it. Let's start from the beginning.
If an outfit could be a mullet, this would be it. It is business on the top and party underneath. It's literally like one of those bad girls that wrapped up and she got the pointy toe shoes with the ankle straps like, bye mom, I'm going to Bible study. And she really going to swing on the ball. This really confused the shit out of me. How do you feel about it though? It's definitely a piece that's different from everything else in my closet. But would you spend your money on it? Be honest, it's okay. I probably wouldn't buy this myself. So to me, it was a complete miss, and you failed her. It's like it's Kate Middleton with the coat on, and then you take it off, and it's Kate Middleton in 2006, drunk in the back of a cab.
Wow. Let's hear that again. That was this lady who just said that, by the way.
Okay. I probably wouldn't buy this myself. So to me, it was a complete miss, and you failed her. It's like it's Kate Middleton with the coat on, and then you take it off, and it's Kate Middleton in 2006, drunk in the back of a cab.
Okay. So that has been making the rounds. That has been making the rounds. The outfit, I love the color. I love that color combination. You got the coat with the teal, you have the metallic teal top, which it does look a mess. You know, I'm always trying to find a way to make something work. I don't know what you could do with that. And then those strappy shoes, it really didn't do anything for it. Now, the gentleman with the long hair, his name is Law Roach, and he is a celebrity stylist. And he's from Chicago, believe it or not. He's a celebrity stylist. And I really love the way he said, be honest, it's okay. Be honest, it's okay. Would you buy that? Be honest, it's okay. And then she said, no, I probably wouldn't buy it. And then Sister Girl right here said, you know, that's very 2006 Kate Middleton um, leaving a party and drunk in the back of a cab, which, you know, we've seen the photos. Those photos do exist where Kate Middleton is totally plastered and riding around. I mean, every time I look at that photo, you know what sound I hear in my head? Like a cat. I feel like a cat is going to hiss at me. Uh, Henrietta Phillips, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for supporting Royal Sussex. I think you've been with us for a while, haven't you? I think so. I really do appreciate that though. Um yeah, well, that describes it. I mean, that is genius. That is genius. Since it's so short, I want to play that one more time for you. It's not very long, not even a minute.
If an outfit could be a mullet, this would be it. It is business on the top and party underneath. It's literally like one of those bad girls that wrapped up and she got the pointy toe shoes with the ankle straps like, bye mom, I'm going to Bible study. And she's really going to swing on the pole. This really confused the shit out of me. How do you feel about it though? It's definitely a piece that's different from everything else in my closet. But you would you spend your money on it? Be honest, it's okay. I probably wouldn't buy this myself. So to me, it was a complete miss, and you failed her. It's like it's Kate Middleton with the coat on, and then you take it off, and it's Kate Middleton in 2006, drunk in the back of a cab.
Yep. That definitely explains it. It is very 2006. It's like a home economics class disaster. I don't know if everybody is familiar with that, but the home economics class, it is where I learned to bake a souffle. It is where I learned how to write a check. We had a whole bunch of stuff that they taught us so that we could be functioning adults in our own place. If your mama didn't teach you, they would. Like the fact that you should stick with the measurements if you're going to bake something or whatever. Um, and so, and then of course, they do have just the regular sewing classes. So that is like sewing class 101. All I can say is I really do like the colors and I like that contrast of the wool coat. But the way that that metallic looks, it really should, that looks like a synthetic fabric. And I could imagine that a silk wouldn't be as luminous, but it would definitely contrast the textures. But then that in the front, like he said, it's like a party, it's like business at the top and a party at the bottom. I don't know if that's shorts or I think it's a skirt. The skirt is sewn in the worst possible way, and that top is a nightmare. Yeah, it's a big sloppy mess. It looks like something Camilla would have worn to the club. Yeah, it looks like something that Camilla would have worn to the clubs back in the day. I could see her wearing that. And the reason why is because, well, we have some indisputable evidence that that is definitely Camilla's style. Because only Camilla could take something as formal as a garderobe or whatever type of robe that is and turn it into a big sloppy mess. I mean, she's practically wearing it sideways. And there is the queen, ever the regal monarch. And Camilla has had a lifetime to prepare for the role. And still, she went out the house looking like a big, sloppy mess. A big, sloppy mess. Wearing those Minnie Mouse pumps. Be honest. It's okay. There was something so devious and sly about that. Be honest. It's okay. And then he just kind of smiled like that. I'm like, Why does he scare me? He kind of scares me. He seems like a nice person, but mm-mm. Be honest. It's okay. Would you buy that? Be honest. It's okay. uh-uh. Oh. And also, Mona Lisa said, this reminded me of, and she shared a picture of that disco outfit on the left side there with that metallic synthetic top. And yeah, yep, that is very Kate Middleton 2006. And then, of course, the one that closed the deal, so they say, Kate Middleton with her see through dress. I still do not understand what the fascination of this dress is. And of course, the person that's modeling the dress, I'm going to be nice. I have been very polite the past couple of days. I'm going to keep doing that. And of course, there is this. You take a look there, you can see Kate wearing that gold lace dress. And of course, instantly, I thought about the Oval Office. The Oval Office has never looked as gilded before. And anyway, that is Donald Trump's doing. And you take a look there on the right side, and you can see a banquet table, which of course looks a hot mess. Yeah, that looks a hot mess. But again, it reminds me of Kate's dress all day long. So, um, and then of course, people have been fascinated on the media, social media. They have been fascinated with that hat that Melania is wearing. They have been fascinated with that um, because it was kind of hard to see her face. I mean, you could just barely see, and that's not the first time. She did that at the second inauguration for her husband. She wore that hat where you could just barely see her, like from her nose down, the tip of her nose down. That was all you could see. And so, if you're wondering what they're doing, anytime there's a state visit or any kind of like big luncheon or something like that, the people that maintain the archives for the royal family, they will go and find the gifts that were given over the years, over the past 100 years, even. Um, if they received a rare book or jewelry, or let's say a vase or anything, um, whatever it is, they have it cataloged and they're going to go and get it and they're going to place it on a table or on tables, and you go to whatever room that is, and then you go and review those items. Um, they usually do that at Buckingham Palace, but they also do it here at Windsor Castle. Now, the Queen received a brooch from the Obamas, and compared to the stuff that the Queen usually wears, the value was not incredibly impressive, but it was very sentimental. And so the Queen actually wore it for the Obamas the next time they met or whatever it was. So that's how they do it. Chances are they don't remember in most instances. It is the courtiers that will, or whoever runs the archive, they'll locate it and they will put it out there for you to review. Oh, when I went to your country back in 1955, this is the gift that they gave me, and so on and so on. So that is what they're doing right there. Okay, Melania Trump doesn't get anywhere near enough credit for being a real fashion icon. So, like I said, people's imaginations have gone wild on the internet. As you can see, they have swapped the hat that she wore and put it on the president. And of course, I want to say that is like some kind of modern mid century light fixture or whatever. Um, they decided to use that for her fancier or her hat or whatever. And then, of course, some people seem to believe that she looked like she was extraterrestrial. And they supposedly used AI to come up with this. uh, and then there's this one. They saw the hat and thought flying saucer. And then, of course, more lampshades. You have the purple lampshade on the left and on the right. That's one of those outdoor heaters for like a cafe. Yeah, same flavor. And check out that lamp on the right side. Now, is that a real lamp? I don't know. But you know what? I could rock with that one. I kind of like that. I'd probably, it's probably AI. Well, that's kind of cute. That is kind of cute. I would put that in my home. It's different. And then of course, this is one that I made. There's the couple that everybody is like falling all over talking about how impressed they are. Look at them as they walked around central London crossing the Thames, and there's little Oliver Twist begging for some gruel, and they just take no notice of him. You see that? I mean, they're walking across the bridge. All of a sudden, they are met by Oliver Twist, and of course, they pay absolutely no attention to him. They're so cruel. Um, I don't know what Kate is wearing, but why is that skirt sticking to her like flypaper? And I didn't realize that was Melania. She looks so different from the day before because her face hasn't moved in about 5 years. Her face does not move. And yet she was able to force a smile. I don't know how she did it, but I'm impressed. I didn't think she had any muscles left to smile. I thought those were carefully removed to avoid wrinkles. But, I have to say, it's hard to believe that Melania is about 12 years older than Kate. The other thing that people were fascinated with is that big, ridiculous bow. It does not seem to go with the outfit. It's kind of confusing. Like Law Roach said, this confused the hell out of me. I wasn't sure what was going on. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't get that outfit. I don't get it. It looks horrible. Whatever it was that she fell out with her dresser, her stylist, she needs to make up with her. She needs to make up with somebody because this is terrible. I don't know why one of the most famous women on the planet look so sloppy, look so unkept, so uh uncoordinated. I don't get how that happens. And enough with the hand gestures. Do you see Melania waving her hands all over the place like she about to bust some kind of Fosse move? Do you see her doing that? No, it's not necessary. You don't have to keep waving your hands. But I have a theory about that. I think she does that because she knows the cameras are on and she wants to have an interesting photo. She wants to make it seem like she is credible and knows what she's speaking of when nothing could be further from the truth. She probably don't know what she's talking about based on past performance. I couldn't imagine she does. But yet there goes those tentacles sticking out again, making some point about God knows what. And I mean, she's been doing it so much that now William started doing it. She's been doing that so much, William is doing it. He wasn't doing that before, but now he done caught it. Look at her. She done turned him into her with the jazz hands. What the hell? Anyway, now take a look at the skirt. What is going on with that skirt? Is it someone up under it? Why is it so? It looks like there's cardboard beneath it. Do you see what I'm saying? What is? It's so distracting. I mean, no shade, no shade, but I'm trying to figure out what's going on with that skirt. What is happening? I want to know. And then, of course, you have to involve people's kids. Take the kids out of school or whatever, but you got to give them some kids to interact with. Otherwise, it's just not the same. I think it's gross taking other people's kids and making a photo op out of them. I don't think that's proper. Uh-oh. Look at what they I hope they tipped. I hope they left a nice tip because meanwhile at Windsor Castle this morning, yeah, they'd have messed up some sheets. They'd have messed up those doggone sheets. I don't even have to tell you who did that. But what I will say is thank you to the squatty who found this image and shared it with the rest of us. They're going to have to burn those sheets now that they're all covered in cheddar dust. Ugh. Yep, now that they're all covered with cheddar dust, they're going to have to burn them. But this is why they only went for a loop around the garden. They did not go out onto the street because they did not want Trump to be embarrassed by all of those people waving the signs saying, "Not my king, down with the crown." That would have proved very, very embarrassing. So instead, they had a ring of protection, soldiers, and a parade and everything. It was a nice presentation, or should I say, it was a nice gross um, spending of taxpayers' money, but it is what it is. Oh, and look at there. There was one black person out of 160 people at that table. We have only been able to identify one person that may very well be of African descent. Can you believe that? Otherwise, I didn't see any others. And lastly, we just have two slides left. What Meghan wore, the Guyana hat, the velvet by Graham and Spencer, Chloe Wade, Brother Villies. Yeah. And then there's this one. What is Megan wearing? Amelia Wickstead, Logan Hollowell, and Cartier. Cartier. And you have to say it properly. It's not Cartier, it's Cartier. 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 Yeah, you got to say it like you just coughed or something. Cartier. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on Royal Sussex. Now, how does that sound in French? Uh, no, sweetie, that's French. Cartier, 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 Cartier. It's Cartier. Yeah, you got to be kind of choppy when you say it. Cartier, Cartier. Bless you. Cartier. Gesundheit. Poliver Girl, thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for watching Royal Sussex. Also, you guys, did anybody see those fun shorts that I added earlier today? I added some short videos today. Did you all have a chance to see them? They were a lot of fun. There was at least, I'm going to say, a couple of people who thought I was being, that I humanized Will and Kate. Um, the thing is, I was practicing the AI. I had never used the AI before this week. And so I thought it was so cute. I just went ahead and uploaded it, but it wasn't my intentions to try to celebrate them in any way. So if you saw that and you're a bit confused, it's a 7-second video and it shows the Waleses dancing created by the AI. So the reason why I did that is because it was just practice. I want to do more of the shorts so that way more people can find Royal Sussex because we have a good thing here and I just want more people to be able to see it. I want to have an opportunity to be an alternative to all of that misinformation out there. So it is not a sign of approval of the Wellses, but what it is a content creator who is practicing. So when you get a chance to check them out, they are a lot of fun. And you could even share them. But I want to make them very shareable. And I want them to be like a nice little fun break from your typical day at work or wherever you are. Okay. So cheers, everyone. Thank you so much. I cannot believe those 2 hours went by so fast. I really can't believe it. That was fast. Oh, Olivia Johnson, thank you so much. Okay. Good night, Cammy Blue Tube. Okay. Anybody else? Any last comments? Jessica Foreman, you've been a part of Royal Sussex forever. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Let me see here. Oh, is Church Nelly still here? First thing Monday morning, I'm gonna pack my cares away. Got no time to look back. I'm looking for me a better day. Love me some Tony Braxton. Let it flow, let it flow. I had made one short and I was trying to share it, but it wouldn't let me because I think the music that I chose, they wasn't feeling it. And I thought, well, if I could just skip to the parts that's not using, the N word and everything, it would be kind of fun. But it just wouldn't work. So I got that one little video that I kept private because it wouldn't let me share it. Only 7 seconds, and it wouldn't let me share it. Uh, Doretha Green, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you very much. I'll tell you, one of the things that I hate about AI are the thumbnails. I do not like thumbnails where they make it look like someone's crying or they're shocked and all that. Oh, I hate those thumbnails. And I don't like the thumbnails where the content creator has that shocked look on their face. Do you know that makes me not watch the video? I do not like those where they look like, like they're surprised or shocked or something like that. The thing is, they tell you to make your channels more appealing to do that, but I think it's very undignified and I'm not going to be a party to it. So, Rory, thank you very much. And thank you for being a friend. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me. And the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. Okay. All right. So we're done. Love you guys. And I will see you all next time. And let's end with Once Upon a Time.